Welcome back. This is where we stop guessing at jail.local and actually learn it. You've been editing this file since Lessons 02, but honestly, you've only touched 3 things. Today, we dissect all 10 directives that matter. The skeleton every jail needs, what each option really does, how default inheritance flows down into your sections, and finally, you'll write a VSFTPD jail from a blank file. No snippets, no shortcuts. So let's start with the shape. A jail is just a section header in square brackets followed by key equals value pairs, and 5 of those pairs are non-negotiable. You need a name, you need enabled set to true, forget that, and the jail sits there silently doing nothing. A port for the firewall to slam shut, a filter pointing at a regex file in filter, D, and a log path telling the daemon which file to tail. Memorize this shape. Everything else in this lesson hangs off it. And here's the full vocabulary. 10 directives, color-coded by job. The red ones are the fundamentals you just met. Enabled, port, log path. Cyan is plumbing, filter, and action, wiring the jail to its rejects and its consequences. Amber is the arithmetic of bans. Bantime, findtime, maxretry, the 3 numbers that decide who gets locked out and for how long. Green are the tuners, ignoreip and backend, for whitelisting and log reading strategy. We'll walk them in exactly that order, so screenshot this slide. It's your map for the rest of the lesson. Let's start with the 3 reds. Enabled is binary, true or false, but here's the trap. Jail.conf ships almost everything as false, so if you copy a section over and forget to flip it, Fail2ban client status won't even mention it. No error, no warning, just silence. Port decides what the ban actually blocks. If your SSH listens on 22.2 and you leave port at SSH, you've built a beautifully useless jail. And log path is the file fail ban tails. Get the path wrong and the jail starts cleanly, but the filter never sees a single line. Always else la before you reload. Now, once enabled, port and log path are right, the jail needs 2 more things, a filter and an action. And here's where Fail2ban's design really shines. These 2 are completely decoupled. The filter is just a regex file living in filter.d that says, this log line means trouble, with the magic host placeholder marking where the IP gets extracted. The action is what happens after enough matches pile up. Built-in macros give you shortcuts. Action is ban only, action w adds mail, action mabwl adds the log. And you can stack multiple actions, new line, indent, repeat, so one filter can ban, email, and hit a webhook all at once. With filter and action wired up, you're left with the arithmetic, 3 numbers that quietly encode your entire security policy. Maxretry is how strict you are. Drop it to 3 for SSH with key auth, but don't go to 1 unless you enjoy locking out your own users. Findtime is the window those strikes have to land in. 10 minutes catches bursts. Stretch it too far, and legitimate retries get banned days later. And bantime is the punishment. An hour minimum in production. And please, never set it to -1 unless you've got the recidive jail or a cleanup crone, because that database grows forever. Now the safety nets. Ignoreip is the whitelist that saves your career. Put it in default and every jail inherits it. Loopback, your internal CIDR ranges, your office IP, even host names that resolve at startup, all valid. Wildcards aren't, so don't try. Backend is just how the jail reads its log file. Auto works for almost everyone. The one time you override it is when a single service like SSHD has moved to journaled while the rest still write to files. Then you set backend to systemed and leave log path empty. Here's where most copy-paste configs go wrong. Default isn't magic. It's just a regular jail block whose values cascade down, exactly like CSS specificity. Look at the example. SSHD inherits bantime of 1 hour and the ignoreip list, but overrides maxretry to 3 because SSH deserves stricter treatment. Apache auth inherits everything except bantime, which jumps to 24 hours. The rule is simple. Override what differs, inherit the rest, and never redeclare ignoreip in every jail. That cascading principle leads directly to the override pattern itself. The cargo cult approach on the left rewrites all 9 lines of the SSHD defaults just to change bantime. Every one of those redundant directives is now frozen in time, immune to upstream improvements. The minimal override on the right declares only what actually differs. 2 lines, both meaningful. When you diff this file in 6 months, you'll see exactly what you decided and nothing you forgot. Now the payoff. You're running VSF TPD, attackers are hammering it, and instead of grabbing someone's gist, you ask 3 questions. Does the filter exist? Where does the service log? And what port does it listen on? 1 LS, 1 grep, 1 fact you already know, and the jail writes itself. 5 lines, each one chosen. Then you validate with Fail2ban rejects before reloading, because confidence comes from testing, not hoping. So let's tally what you actually walked away with. 6 concrete skills, the 5-line skeleton, the 4 directive categories, sane arithmetic defaults, proper default inheritance, a repeatable workflow for any new service, and the instinct to refuse configs you don't understand. And one rule above all of them: if your jail local runs 9 lines and you only touched 1, you didn't write it. You borrowed it. From here on, every jail is yours. Anatomy is behind you. But a jail is only as good as its trigger logic, and that lives in 3 numbers: bantime, findtime, and maxretry. In Lesson 05, we tune them. You'll see how they actually interact under a real attack, why exponential bantime changes everything for repeat offenders, and how the right values for SSH look nothing like the right values for a web server. See you there.